Pallavi, take me through what you're focusing on and what your belief is in terms of the potential to grow the business from here on. And what the ask is essentially, and I know everyone's going to, I'll get Shweta to collate together what the feedback is from startups that have been speaking through the day on what the ask is of the government and the regulator. But let me ask you, Pallavi, of how you see your business evolving from here.
So we are into funding the micro, small and medium enterprises, and these are based in tier 2, tier 3 towns of India. If you look at the numbers, we know 63 million MSMEs contributing heavily to GDP. Today, Mr. Kant spoke about, if we have to get to the vision of Viksit Bharat, the GDP has to grow 9x in the next 22 years. So that's the focus, and the entire GDP moves through this retail economy. So our focus, when we think about MSME, we think about a manufacturing unit, right? We focus on the trading ecosystem, which are the shopkeepers, retailers, distributor economy. These are the customers who are the core engine of driving the GDP forward, right? And if they don't grow, I think we cannot think about the dream of making the developed India we talk about. Yeah. So that's a very important segment, huge focus for the government. We have done close to 30,000 crores of financing so far. And for us, the focus right now is how do we really do the right thing, because it's not just about giving credit. Yeah. The segment that we are focusing on needs a lot of capacity building, lot of digitization. Yeah. If these companies can be digitized, they can be formalized, credit will be easily accessible. Yeah. So it's not a question of credit so much. It's a question of how they structure their businesses better, how they digitize. So our focus is on that direction. Right. I think as we think about the growth of this sector, very important that, this sector is being recognized as priority sector. Yeah. So when we think, when banks look at this sector, if they have 70% priority sector, contribution, they get certain kind of rebates, benefits. For NBFCs like us, we don't have that, right? In order for these retail companies to actually become and qualify as priority sector, they need to have something called as Udyam Aadhar. Right. But our point is that, even without that, they're already in that turnover range where they do qualify for priority sector. So I think the ask is that, as we think about focus into this segment, there is a lot more to be done. Government is anyway pushing. I think the budget, I'm sure we are going to have a lot more coming up on the MSME segment. I think it's just about executing it on the ground. And we as fintechs who are focused on MSME payments, MSME credit, are the engines to drive it. So I think our request would be to look at how we can scale this sector by better policies, debottlenecking some of the regulatory issues. So,
well, that has been the promise that the chief economic advisor has made as a sort of look into possibly what the economic survey will say, that deregulation, debottlenecking is the theme likely this year. But Jitendra, let's address the issue of scale. Let's also address the issue of speed. And, to address the untapped market, so to speak, to address the underpenetrated market, so to speak, what do you believe is the need of the hour to get that additional 1 billion on board across different categories and different segments?
So that's a tough question you're asking me in the last. But I think if you look at it, like each of our businesses is growing because of the macro factors for sure. And we have to give credit to that because especially in financial services, which most of us are in, if you look at the last 5 years, when the GDP grew from $1,500 to $2,600, this additional 1,000 incremental dollar has created like at least $200 billion of value, the new value which has been created. And if we believe that the Prime Minister's vision, which is the GDP should grow 10x from here by 2047, even if you do simple multiplication, while there is an exponential effect you get when every $1,000 you get, it's not $200. With every $1,000 you get at least $500 billion of value being created. So from that standpoint, the market itself will support the growth. That being said, the regulatory for sure. So I think the startups are known for innovation, and innovation means finding the areas where nobody has chartered.
Yes.
And if nobody has chartered, that means the rules were not written in the manner in which the startups are assuming, or the rules are not written, assuming the new business models. Yeah. So from that standpoint,
regulation always keeps pace with innovation. Innovation always ahead of regulation.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, let's say whether the Uber or Ola would have ever come, if the rules were written that the taxi should have operated in certain fashion. Yeah. The rules were never written like that. So that's how the new models came in, and then the rules were made. I think the startups also, in my view, will operate that way with they will define new rules or new ways of doing business. So from that standpoint, the regulators would need to catch up to support this growth. So I feel it's the government's focus and enabling the innovation would clearly support the growth.
Well, what rules are you willing to break, Shruti, at this point in time? Clearly not regulatory rules, but rules in being able to address markets and break the status quo, as Varun was pointing out.
So again, coming from fintech and lending in unsecured, I don't think this is a platform to talk about taking any regulation. I think every second page talks about unsecured lending.
Yes.
So
You're the red flag everybody's warning us about.
absolutely. But one of the things which I would want from the government is to think about financial inclusion, which is a big part of our building the company. We've had 30 lakh customers, and with rate caps coming in, cost of compliance going up, serving the underserved, the underbanked becomes slightly harder. But as we want to get the next billion in, it becomes very, very important to get them in the fold.
Absolutely. And I think that's the overarching mission and vision as far as the government is concerned. Upasana, I'm going to ask you to come back to us. Really, as I said, 2024 has in many ways also brought together the public markets and the private markets. There's been a legitimacy as far as the Indian startup story is concerned from a public market point of view. Through your own experience now, what do you believe this convergence is going to result in? I mean, we've got a bunch of IPOs in the pipeline. 2025 is expected to be an even bigger year. This convergence, the kind of value unlock that it opens up, your thoughts?
So I think that it's not just about 2024. I think that last couple of years, we've seen that the markets have been correcting, both in the private side. I mean, if you think about it, we did some research to see no large deals only have happened. And not just in India. I mean, even large global players like Klarna had to take a bit slash down when they raised money a few years back, right? Post-COVID. So I think correction has been happening in the valuations. And I think that it has also brought this whole attention to reaching profitability, growing profitably in the entire mindset of the founders in India, which I think is a new thing. I think other than that, people were not so focused because there was so much supply of private capital.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to make better companies now in India, because long term, I think this convergence is going to come in both on the private and the public side. Finally, see, M&A has not been at a scale.
Yeah.
M&A has not really been the big way of exiting in India, unlike US or other markets. So going public has been a path that we have seen many new age companies follow in 21, and 24 has been again a good year. In our own sector in fintech, I can tell you that we have tried very hard to create a positive path for all the other fintechs behind us so that they can also, get into the liquidity of capital markets. So I think it's a great thing. I think the sentiment from the founders side is improving to reach profitable growth numbers. The sentiment from the public market investors is improving towards new age companies. I do hope that in the next 5 years, you will see at least 50 to 70 new age companies get listed. And I do believe that it will become an inflection point of another order for the growth of startups in India.
Absolutely. I would imagine that is something to look forward to. And perhaps we could see that number, emerge over the next 5 years. Anybody else here who's looking at the IPO market, Sanket, is that going to be something that you look at some point, in the future? It's on, good.
I think personally, I'll want to hold off to an IPO. And I think our current revenue is IPO ready, but I'll want to hold it off for as long as we can.
What are the key pain points, the key friction areas that continue to exist that require the government's attention and the regulators' attention? The top 5 areas that need focus and attention.
Well, thanks, Shireen. I think for us at the Startup Policy Forum, we have our hands full. And if today was any indication, at Startup Baitak, we had about 8 sessions since the morning where we collated a number of policy issues that are important to the startup ecosystem. And let me start by telling you that this year is going to be transformative on the policy front. Just look at how the year has begun. We've already got the AI governance framework from MeitY out, which we are working towards the submissions. We've already got the data privacy rules out again. So that's going to be a big one, and data privacy will impact each one of the startups here that we see around us. We had Shruti talk about unregulated lending. There is a bill on unregulated lending that is again awaiting submissions. We have the budget round the corner. Today's conversations were more about, I think, understanding that our startups have now reached the size and scale that they want to play an active role in policy making.
They need to have a voice. They need to be heard.
Absolutely. And I think what's most important is that that realization is at both ends. So there is going to be tons of policy making inputs that the government requires. And, they heard it right from Dr. Shamika Ravi, who's the, member to the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. They heard it from Mr. Amitabh Kant. They've heard it from every single policy maker who came to Startup Better, that the government wants to hear from startups more. And they're willing to make changes. They're willing to actually understand what startups need. So I think what we have right now is the startup ecosystem being really at an inflection point. We're looking at Startup 2.0 in some ways, 9 years of startup.
Of startup.
Are we now at the stage where we can bring those transformative policies that will take it to the next level? So tons of work ahead.
And budget specifically, anything in the budget that you've put forward to the finance minister?
Tons, including ESOP taxation, our pre-budget,
which has been on the table for a while now.
Well, we do hope that we think that the corridors of power are very, very open to what we are going to be suggesting. And I will say that our pre-budget consultation goes in this week.
Okay.
But you'll be the first to know.
Well, thank you very, very much. It took many years for the angel tax to finally be axed. So I hope it takes less time for the ESOP taxation to be resolved. But thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen.